Good morning, people. It's good to see you guys. We are now at day 23, I think. And we're gonna have Asswelcher getting redirected by Spanky. I mean, I just don't see what he can do here. If I'm being totally honest, I have no idea what he thinks he's gonna do. Because that shit yesterday was unreal. This dude just lied like the whole time and dodged questions. Mark Betterow tweeted that he was the most insufferable expert witness he's ever seen. this, I don't understand why this case is even happening. Like, I'm mostly at this point, I'm consumed with trying to understand the motive behind all of these so-called court officers, cops. I mean, what is their motive for all of this to continue this? This should not be happening. I don't know of any attorney worth a shit that thinks that this is okay. When I see channels who try to stay neutral on this at this point, I'm like, how can you? Like, if any channel who's ever covered trials before has to see that there is clear corruption taking place here. And thank you for gifting a membership, Liz. Liz, I appreciate you. Let's see if we can get this pulled up because they should be starting soon, because today is going to be a half day. Yeah, this is just wild, man. All right, I guess I'll just pull up. I'll use Court TV today, I guess. Court starts at 9. As far as I know. But it's a half day. They're gonna wrap up by 1:30, so no lunch. They'll probably have one break and then no lunch. Yeah, this is a lot. I am, and this dude is Spanky's ace in the hole. This is supposed to win him the whole case, as far as what he's attempting to do. This guy is supposed to be his anti-Arca. And the guy is the anti-Arca. I mean, if you want to look at it like in terms of Bizarro world, he is the anti-Arca. He's unethical. He's lazy. I mean, this is just crazy. Right, Christy. It's like I'm trying to understand what the motive is for all of them. Like, Spanky's motive has got to be money, you know? But like, dude, your whole career is going down the toilet. This guy is never, ever, ever going to be known as someone doing a good thing. As a lawyer, he's always going to be that atypical cliche reason why people hate fucking lawyers. I never thought that a bunch of defense attorneys would turn out to be heroes in my eyes. I never thought that. It's wild. Yeah, everybody in Massachusetts should be embarrassed. You know what I mean? Like if I lived in Massachusetts, dude, I would be fucking embarrassed to the rest of the world, you know? I feel so bad for you guys. Yeah, man. I'm thinking of moving from Tennessee, actually. But I'm not moving to Massachusetts. You got me fucked up. That's never gonna happen. That's not happening. No way. Like it's gonna take a little more than being loved there for me to live.
You are unmuted.
I'd rather fight. Just come over there. I can't, you know. Now opening may be seated.
All right. Good morning, counsel. Good morning, Ms. Reed. And all right, Mr. Alessi, I will hear you on your argument on the board here.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm just loading up my computer.
Dude, I escaped Florida, Britt. I'm not going back.
Your Honor, I'm
No way.
going to address the Trooper Paul aspect, and then I'm going to address the Dr. Scorty Bellow aspect of Dr. Welchure. With regard to Trooper Paul, I would like to draw the court's attention to the following documents for the straightforward proposition that Dr. Welchure has not only reviewed, he has not only considered, that he has adopted. I went back and looked at the documents, and the basis for this is follows. Slides 22 and 23 do not just depict Trooper Joseph Paul himself. They show Trooper Paul conducting the CARS analysis on February 1st of 2022. Importantly, these slides highlight the mileage odometer of 12,665, and I respectfully request the court to anchor into that odometer reading, because I'm going to show the path that that odometer reading takes through all of the documents, but I want to emphasize the start, the genesis of the odometer reading of 12,665 miles is with Trooper Paul as he conducted the CARS analysis on February 1st. Now, here's where Dr. Welchure comes in. Dr. Welchure then uses this key data point, odometer 12,665, as the basis, the starting point for his determination of the locations and times for the events of January 29 of 2022. Dr. Welchure uses his scenario analysis of Miss Reed's travels, and that's detailed on slides 24, 25, 26, 27, and 28 to calculate and then deduct 36 miles from the odometer according to Trooper Paul on February 1st of 2022 to arrive at an odometer reading of 12,629, which obviously is different from the start, the anchor I talked about of 12,665. So the assumed odometer of 12,629, again, is based on Trooper Paul's CARS analysis in slides 22 and 23, are then used as a tether, a connection to the events recorded by the VCH and the Lexus on the following slides: 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 35, and 36. I elucidate this and I explicate the slide numbers to show how many there are in Dr. Welchure's report that are rooted in the anchor point and then the change in the deduction of the odometer. So the events memorialized by Trooper Paul on February 1st, including the odometer reading, provide the foundation for Dr. Welchure's entire analysis of the VCH events. The entire analysis of Dr. Welchure's VCH events. That is the adoption aspect of what I started with. 2 more points. In addition, Dr. Welchure testified on his voir dire that the image on the left of slide 36 from his January 30th, 2025 presentation came from a file marked carsj.pol. Now, he did contend that it wasn't the exact same image, but I want to go to this. In fact, the image on slide 36 is from the drone used by Trooper Paul, and the citation for that is page 4, item 11 of the CARS report. That's where the drones are from. Dr. Welchure didn't do any drone activity.
He just took it
drone
from Trooper Paul
that he had in his report that was just a little bit different than the one I was showing him. It comes from page 4, item 11 of the CARS report. And I quote, "The crash scene was documented during the on-scene investigation by utilizing Alicia's GNSS GPS mapping system and a DJI Mavic 2 UAS. This data was input to a computer-aided diagram program, which is IMS 360. Here's the key: to produce a scale diagram of this collision. So the DJI Mavic is the CARS team drone. This image of Dr. Welchure's slide 36 is clearly and indisputably from the drone. And the only drone extant is the drone of Trooper Paul and the CARS team." Last point with regard to the Trooper Paul basis in adoption of Dr. Welchure. Mr. Brennan asked Dr. Welchure on voir dire if the image from slide 36 actually came from the CERT team, which is simply not true. The CERT team, actually Lieutenant Tully with the CERT team, took about a dozen photos of the taillight in the snow in the dark around 6 p.m. on January 29, 2022. Lieutenant O'Hara said that the CERT team never traveled back to the scene again. So there were very obviously no photos or images taken by the CERT team in the daylight from the drone. And I again refer to slides 22 and slides 23, where Dr. Welchure said it was more likely than not that it was Trooper Paul in those slides, but the point, whether it's Trooper Paul or not, is completely overwhelmed by what I just argued and presented as specific factual basis for a review, a consideration, and an adoption of the work of Trooper Paul. Unless your Honor has any questions, I would now move on to Dr. Scorty Bellow. Thank you.
Good morning, Scott.
Dr. Scorty Bellow will be much shorter.
Hope everybody out there's hanging in there.
Mr. Woke, do we have the slide of the Dr. Scorty Bellow it's at the end of the slide presentation with her name on it? Oh. You just give the slide number, please. So it is slide 131. I almost know it verbatim, Your Honor, so I will continue. If Ms. Gilman has slide or someone could turn it on. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. So with regard to slide 31, at the very top, and this again is a slide presentation of Dr. Welchure. So up at the very top, and so Dr. Welchure admitted that he not only reviewed the autopsy report, he admitted that he not only considered the autopsy report, he admitted that he adopted it, and I'm going to put adopt in quotes, to the extent that he used it in his slide presentation, and he actually, to show the depth of those three verbs, he's got in orange highlight under final diagnosis, multiple skull fractures, base of skull, and cavallarium. He testified, obviously, about the rear wounds of Mr. O'Keefe. He testified about how he believed those wounds came about, and he cited as corroboration the highlight of multiple skull fractures, base of skull, and
we all
cavallarium.
knew this is what
it couldn't be any
he
more
did.
obvious. His rooting in
Unless he's just
this
proving it now.
document and reliance upon it. Why else would he have it in his slide presentation? And he's got the name of Dr. Scorty Bellow. And frankly, Your Honor, he didn't fight that whatsoever in the questioning of him. Then you go to underneath cause of death, blood impact, injuries of head, and hypothermia. He essentially repeated that on his testimony. And then if we could, Mr. Wool, just go to the right. And so you've got highlighted head, skull fracture radiating from the right occipital skull and into the right parietal bone, right and left occipital foci, and bilateral anterior foci and orbital plates. Again, the highlighted means something. He's adopting it. And lastly, the depiction of the skull here, I believe that's Dr. Welchure's handwriting. I believe that's his green, the LR, because I've never seen this green highlighting before. And it could also be Dr. Scorty Bellow's. That's another possibility. I'm not sure. But let's assume sort of the most conservative part that it's Dr. Scorty Bellow's. The key part is he's got it in there and he is referencing it. So, Your Honor, the last point really for both of them, and I wanted to save this point because it applies to both. With regard to experts, the law is clear. So I think the easiest part to show what our position here is the adoption. But in it, it's clearly shown. Adoption doesn't mean you have to agree with it. You just have to put your expert hands around it, wrestle with it, deal with it. And there is no rule of law that I'm aware of that says you can't question an expert witness unless it's something that the expert witness agrees with. If the expert witness has reviewed it and considered it, and especially if they've rejected it. The easiest is obviously reviewed, considered, and adopted. But it's certainly permissible and important to a defendant's constitutional right, Sixth Amendment to cross-examination, if an expert says or even infers, I reject this. I reject what Trooper Paul did, or I reject what Dr. Scorty Bellow did. That is decision-making of an expert that the attorney has a right to be able to test. Why did you reject it? What was your thought process in rejecting it? And that applies to both Trooper Paul and Dr. Scorty Bellow, because as I understand it, this witness, Dr. Welchure, is not, he says, I'm not relying upon Dr. or Trooper Paul, which is completely false based upon what I just showed. But even if he just rejects it, in addition to what he has done, we have the right to test and get answers as to why he did it. And the same with Dr. Scorty Bellow. Once he goes to this level, Your Honor, I believe it's a straightforward right, especially of a defendant in a criminal trial, and especially of the stakes and the charges this high, that we get to test it. What I think, lastly, my point here, Your Honor, the Commonwealth is doing is this. The Commonwealth
Framing
knows
Karen Reed?
Trooper Paul and Dr. Scorty Bellow are problematic for their theory and their narrative. Trooper Paul has got, if you work backwards from his key cycles, you end up with 1162.2, their key cycle. That ends up being not in front of 34 Fairview, but it ends up when the Lexus is in the possession of the state. That is the result of that. And that was something that was addressed square head on in the first proceeding. We're not coming up with some fanciful ghost in the second trial. This was gone through extensively in the first proceeding. And I understand this is a new trial, but it goes to show it's not something coming out of the blue, etc.
Nah,
and with
come
regard
on.
to Dr. Scorty Bellow,
It matters.
it was remarkable on the redirect that I've never seen a prosecution essentially go after the opinions and conclusion of their own medical examiner.
Yeah, dude.
When they basically said, the medical examiner, I can't call this a homicide. The manner of death is undetermined. And the medical examiner says, I don't see any motor vehicle impact injuries. There couldn't be anything more apt, more probative than whether or not the injuries to the decedent are from a motor vehicle.
Yeah.
The Dr. Welchure himself is saying they are. That's the essence of his opinion. It's the essence of his test. We get to be able to respectfully, Your Honor, say, well, wait a minute. You said you looked at the autopsy. You said this. You highlight it. But you're going against the medical examiner on whether there's motor vehicle injuries. The experts can't, Your Honor, cherry pick and choose from documents. They can't use it as a shield and a sword. They can't put up, for example, Dr. Scorty Bellow's autopsy report, cherry pick things that benefit from them, and then and they did it on direct. And then all of a sudden on cross, when we want to go and test that, they say, oh, no, you can't do it. Your Honor, this whole argument is absurd.
Absurd.
And it's antithetical to the Sixth Amendment. And even if, and this is my last point, even if this were merely a civil case, this would be routine cross-examination against the expert on the side. So in conclusion, Your Honor, I respectfully request that Ms. Reed and her team be allowed to exercise their constitutional right to cross-examination, the keystone of a defense in a criminal trial, cross-examination, and that they be able to take the shield that the prosecution is trying to put on us and be able to combat the sword that the prosecution has put forward with regard to trying to cherry pick from this information, and that we get to proceed, and we get to proceed undaunted from all the serial objections yesterday that interrupted my cross-examination. Thank you, Your Honor.
Atta boy. That's my boy. No, this fucking guy.
What arises from the litany of complaints by the defense is that there is no constitutional right to usurp the rules of evidence. There is no case law, as much as they urge the court and yell out the word case law and constitutional right and Sixth Amendment right. There is no case law to support what they are trying to do. It is a simple endeavor that is clouded by all the rhetoric that they offer. And it is clear, and the court knows what they're trying to do. They are trying to pit the inadmissible opinion of a non-testifying witness against a testifying witness. They have asked Dr. Scorty Bellow what her opinion is. And although it's not consistent with our reading of the case law, they were allowed to introduce that it was an undetermined cause of death or mechanism. That evidence is already in front of the jury. but they can't simply repeat it because it sounds good to them or they think it's helpful.
Of course they can.
Simply because a witness
course they
uses a
can.
document or looks at it or uses part of an autopsy does not let them regurgitate an opinion that's already in evidence to try to phantom cross-examine an expert. Dr. Welchure is clear. He did not rely on Dr. Scorty Bellow's conclusion that this cause of death was undetermined. In fact, as an aside, he said, I wouldn't, because she's not qualified for that. And so
What? She's the
this
medical
is a
examiner,
simple
you
game.
dumb
Let's
motherfucker.
pit one
What are you
witness
talking
against
about?
the other and suggest that the Commonwealth's witnesses are inconsistent. They take it a step further. They want to relive what they think is their past success last year in this case without actually calling the witness. They want the jury to hear their perspective that a past witness had confusion in his analysis, but they don't want to call the witness. They want you to allow them to do that, not just shouting it out and have sustained objections, which has happened this entire case, but they actually want you to be able to allow them to ask Dr. Welch these questions, which he did not rely on. We had a voir dire. He was clear. He did not rely on the analysis of Trooper Paul. He did not rely on that determination.
Then why
or
did he use it?
Determination by Dr. Scorty Bellow. It is that simple. They try to throw some fluff out and they throw around some documents.
Oh, you're
We have
panicking,
slide
buddy.
22. Simply because there's a suggestion that Trooper Paul might be the hand in the picture is not an anchor. It's not a tether. It's not an adoption. It's no such thing. In fact, if you look at that photograph, it was taken by Zach Clark. So by the rationale of the defense, they should now be able to ask Dr. Welchure any question they want about Zach Clark's opinions, efforts, what Zach Clark did. It is a photograph that he considered, not an opinion, not an analysis. It has nothing whatsoever to do with Dr. Welchure's analysis or opinions. In fact, the evidence is to the contrary. He came out, conducted an independent analysis, did all of the work himself, considered documents,
Bullshit.
and he was specific about what
They need
was
to
part of
bring
his opinion
the
and what
defense
was
needs to
not.
call
And this
Trooper
information
Paul.
was not part of his opinion. They turned to the Google map. Bit misleading. This was generated by Google. Two separate people used the same program, but when you look at the CARS report and you look at Dr. Welch's PowerPoint, it's different. Dr. Welch's has a map on the side, and when you look at the numbers themselves, the CAR report says minimum 36.1, maximum 38.8. Dr. Welch's slide, 37.9, 38.1. So in no way did he adopt, anchor, tether, use as any basis. In fact, his is different and separate as all of his analysis
Why
And
is
so,
he using his drone footage,
the
dude?
portrayal
What are you
of this
talking about?
necessity of information so they can sneak in inadmissible opinions with no witness is simply improper. There is no case law. There is no legal support for it. They cannot reach back into
It's a
last
Sixth
year and
Amendment
manipulate
right,
a
you
witness and
dickhead.
ask him about something that he didn't rely on because it feels good or it sounds good for their case. Dr. Welchure did not rely
Shouldn't that door be
on
closed?
Trooper Paul's analysis or reports, and he did not rely on the conclusion of Dr. Scorty Bellow of undetermined. If they want to call Trooper Paul, well, maybe they can try to do that, but Dr. Welch is not the right witness for it. These opinions to try to do a credibility eval is a core preclusion in criminal law, a core preclusion. You cannot vouch for the credibility of another witness. You cannot comment. It's like asking, did the police officer lie when he said the light was red? It's the absolute same analysis. It just has a lot of icing on it.
Very briefly, bring the jury, start getting the jury ready, please.
All right, this is behind.
Your Honor,
I'm
with
going
regard to Trooper Paul,
Sorry, guys, this is a little behind, so I'm just gonna go to this one because it's
Trooper Paul into the second trial through Dr. Welchure and Dr. Welcher's reliance on all the work of Trooper Paul. They've brought it in here, and because of that, we get the right to cross-examine it. Last point. This is not about credibility. He keeps saying something that's not happening, that we're going to attack the credibility of Trooper Paul. What we want to do is to say to Dr. Welchure, you have brought up Trooper Paul. You have used his odometer reading. That odometer reading tethers through to Google and tethers through everything you're doing. It's the foundation. But what you're ignoring, Dr. Welchure, are all the key cycle results that come from that odometer reading that you relied upon. Dr. Welchure himself can't cherry pick, grab things that he needs from Trooper Paul to do his analysis.
Right.
And then the Commonwealth say, but you can't go after that because it somehow has Trooper Paul's name on it. It's illogical, Your Honor, and it's incorrect under the law. Thank you.
And it's unethical.
So I disagree with you, Mr. Alessi.
Wow.
I'm not allowing in the line of questioning regarding Trooper Paul, and I'm not allowing the line of questioning regarding Dr. Scorty Bellow. So that's my ruling. Let's bring the jury in.
Yeah, you corrupt fucking cunt. Fuck you.
Well, come over here because they're on their way.
What a corrupt fucking piece of shit she is. That is unfucking believable, dude. I mean, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. And make no mistake, folks, I want you to know, when I act surprised when it comes to Bev, it's not that I'm surprised. That's not surprise. That's not shock. That's anger. It's anger. It's pure fucking anger. Because it's just one more time that she continues to fucking do it. She just operates with impunity. She just indulges in pure corruption and abuse of power with impunity. I mean, there's proof this fucking guy just lied. They can go after his credibility real easy, but I don't know if they can enter it into evidence. Like the video that I showed yesterday before court started, where this guy used a crash test dummy, but in the middle of this 45-second video, it's real short, but in the middle of it, this guy contradicts himself. In the middle of this video, he's aware and recites this fact that the majority of injuries that take place from a pedestrian vehicle impact take place on the lower extremities. Where he says during direct that it happens to the head. No, Bev will throw them a bone. I mean, she could have done this bullshit and just kept Arca completely out. But here's the thing, dude. If Karen Reed gets convicted, and this is what Bev knows, if Karen Reed were to get convicted and Arca is and Arca would have been left out and Karen Reed would have been convicted, I mean, people would have rioted. People would have rioted. She knows this. She knows this.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. All persons have any business before the Honorable Beverly Cannoni, Justice of the Norfolk Superior
Honorable
Court
my
of the country.
fucking balls.
Draw
Fuck
near,
you.
give your attendance, and you shall be heard. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. This court is now open. You may be seated.
Good morning, members. I do appreciate you were waiting. We were doing work in here, but we appreciate your patience. So I do have to ask you those 3 questions. Were you all able to follow the instructions and refrain from
Dirty
discussing
piece
this
of
case
shit.
with anyone since we left yesterday? Everyone said yes or nodded affirmatively. Were you also able to follow the instructions and refrain from doing any independent research or investigation into this case? Everyone said yes or nodded affirmatively. Did anyone happen to see, hear, or read anything about this case since we left yesterday? No. Everyone said no or sure. Thank you. Could we have Dr. Welcher back in, please, and Mr. Alessi, feel free to go to the podium.
With the computer and any electronics there, so we don't have to address.
It doesn't look like it's turned on at
Oh,
all.
okay, good. And smart watches.
Yeah, smartwatches too, because that motherfucker was looking at text on his watch during the during his cross-examination.
Thank you. Good morning, Your Honor.
And Dr. Welcher, we're going to ask you to not turn on your computer yet.
Okie
Thank you.
Okay,
Your Honor, if I
shut
could,
the fuck up.
smartwatches
You
that
suck.
are receiving text messages during his direct, if we can make sure that that does not occur.
I get my email. I think I'll something.
Okay, or just don't look at your watch.
Or fucking make him
Okay.
take it off.
Thank you, Your Honor. Morning, Dr. Welcher.
Good morning.
Do you know whether there was glass found on the bumper of Miss Reed's Lexus SUV?
My understanding there was, yes.
Did you reach a conclusion on whether the glass on the bumper came from the drinking glass that you assert Mr. O'Keefe was holding at the time of the alleged impact?
I didn't have an opportunity to inspect the glass, but the glass was broken and there was glass on the bumper. That's all I know.
So you, as you sit here today, you have no...
Listen, the only reason that dude should be allowed to wear a smartwatch during fucking testimony is if he has a heart condition and he has to monitor his heart or something to that effect. And even still, I mean, I'm not even sure that should be allowed.
No, Dr. Welcher,
So can
if
I-
you can just answer my question.
I'm
If
trying
I
to.
need to rephrase it, I will.
Um,
I'll ask it a different way.
please.
You have no basis as you sit here today to conclude that the glass on the bumper came from a drinking glass connected to Mr. O'Keefe, do you?
Well, we have a picture of a broken glass at the scene. So I wouldn't say we have no basis. We don't necessarily have enough to conclude it's from it, though.
Yeah, Alessi's pissed today, man. God bless Robert Alessi, dude. God bless him.
Do you had depictions in your test with Mr. O'Keefe holding a glass, correct?
Correct.
My question is, you have no evidence to show at all other than, and I'm talking evidence, testing information. You're saying you have no evidence that shows that the glass on the bumper is not the same glass as you showed on your slides as being found supposedly at the scene. You have no test evidence that that's the same glass, do you?
So again, the one I have at my testing obviously was not the same glass. We have pictures of a broken bar glass in the snow near where Mr. O'Keefe's body was. We have glass fragments on the rear of the bumper. That's the extent of my knowledge on the correlation between those two.
So do you said you reviewed the reports and testimonies of various Commonwealth representatives, correct? That's in your report.
Correct. In the initial.
In the initial, right, correct. And some of those reports included forensic scientists who work for the Massachusetts State Police, correct?
I believe that's correct.
And you put those in your report as documents that you reviewed, correct?
Correct.
And as you sit here today, it's your testimony. You don't know whether in any of the reports of the Massachusetts State Police, there is an answer to the question of whether there's any connection at all between the glass found in the snow and the glass on the bumper.
I recall it being inconclusive.
Oh, so you recall that the testing was inconclusive?
I don't remember what testing they did, but for example, when they put the taillight fragments back together, they were able to deduce that the fragments were from the taillight. I don't think they attempted to do that with the glass.
They did, though, dumbass. We had a woman testify to it earlier.
Assume that there has been testing of the glass on the bumper and assume that that testing conclusively determines that the glass on the bumper is not the glass that was found in the snow.
Okay.
Assume that.
Okay.
How would that affect your analysis?
Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. That's
I'd want to know where the glass came from, but we still have a whole bunch of other elements.
I was referring to.
So
the
I don't
glass
think it
on
would
the
affect the
ground.
end result.
Sorry about that.
So would it have any part in your analysis with my assumption that the glass on the bumper is not the glass that's associated with the broken glass that was supposedly found in the snow?
Yes. I mean, we always want to have as much answers or as many answers as possible. So I would want to know if we could figure out where it came from.
And wouldn't the fact, assuming that the test results show there's no connection, meaning the glass on the bumper is different from the glass in the snow, wouldn't that be contrary to your theory of what happened in some way?
It depends on when the glass was actually broken. The glass was in his hand, at least that's the testimonial evidence I have seen. So it depends on whether it's broken from contact with the rear of the vehicle or broken with contact on the ground.
Assume that the glass on the bumper is not the glass that was found in the snowbank. Doesn't that, at least in part, contradict your hypothesis as to whether there was contact by the Lexus with Mr. O'Keefe at 34 Fairview?
So if you recall my slides, nowhere did we discuss that in my slides. So no, it wouldn't contradict it. I would want to know where that glass came from.
But you didn't seek that information, did you, sir, in your analysis to determine where the glass came from?
Well, of course I did. I read the reports about it.
But you sit here and you say you don't know the answer. There's steps you could have taken to get that answer quite easily. Couldn't you have, sir?
Not me. That's a material science expert.
You've been communicating with Lieutenant Tully, haven't you?
Correct.
You couldn't have asked Lieutenant Tully that question?
To my knowledge, he's not a material science expert.
But could he have told you the result of testing on that glass on the bumper and whether it was any way associated with the glass found in the snow? Wouldn't that have been an easy question to ask him? Just, has there been testing, and if so, what's the results?
Yes, but my knowledge from reading the reports was it was inconclusive.
But you didn't read all of the reports, did you, sir?
Apparently not.
Let's turn to another topic, laser scans. Part of your analysis involved conducting laser scans of portions of 1 Meadows Avenue, the house of Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
Correct.
Those laser scans were used, at least in part, to answer the question of whether the collision between Miss Reed's SUV and Mr. O'Keefe's Chevy Traverse at 1 Meadows at approximately 5:07 a.m. on January 29, 2022, caused the right rear taillight of the Lexus to break, correct?
Correct.
And in that analysis, inches literally matter, correct?
You want to get it as accurate as possible.
And the reason why inches matter is because, and we're going to get to this, you try, and you did it in your slide presentation on direct, you tried to see whether the Lexus lined up with the Traverse such that there could be a break of the taillight. That was part of your analysis, correct?
So the main part of the photogrammetry was to determine the speeds and the angles and the degree of overlap on the vehicles. And then we also looked at the damage from the video, or actually it's just where the snow was knocked off the rear of the Chevy Traverse, and document the height of that.
You said the main part. I don't want to engage in semantics. I want to go to my question of, isn't part of the laser scan analysis to determine whether or not those two vehicles aligned sufficiently such that the Lexus could brake, the taillight of the Lexus could brake coming into contact with the Chevy Traverse. Wasn't that part of your analysis, at least in part?
Yes.
Okay. And in that analysis, inches literally matter, correct?
It can, depending on which way you're going inches.
So the Ring camera at One Meadows, you're familiar with that Ring camera, right? At
Correct.
One Meadows? That Ring camera at One Meadows was used as part of the laser scan process that you and your firm Aperture performed at One Meadows on October 2nd, 2024. Do I have the date correct?
Cherries in here, Scott.
I believe so, but like the videos were not literally used during the laser scans. We took the laser scans, the video, combined them together in a process called photogrammetry.
Okay, let's get this down to the fundamentals. You used, and that was my question, Your Honor, if we could publish the exhibit with regard to the Ring camera.
Sure, what
Just
exhibit is it?
I've got my, yeah. Dr. Welcher, you recognize that Ring camera as being at One Meadows. You discussed it. As a matter of fact, on your direct testimony, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. You used footage.
Now, that Ring camera was utilized as part of your laser scan process, correct? It was used.
So you're confusing laser scan and photogrammetry. The video, the laser scanners are together used in the photogrammetry. The camera and the laser scans are not used necessarily with each other.
What?
Was that
What the
Ring
fuck-
camera
What's the laser scan doing on the camera then, dickhead?
used for any part of your work?
Absolutely, the photogrammetry.
I just need to be able to finish my question, sir. Was that
Sorry.
Ring camera used for any part of your work at One Meadows on October 2nd, 2024?
Yes.
And it was used for what purpose?
In the photogrammetric process, to establish the position and dimensions of various things in the video. So then we could go back and overlay the vehicles and track the tracks in the snow, as well as look at the damage to the vehicles.
Right. So this was used to, as a basis, not the only one, to establish dimensions of the other work that was done in analysis at One Meadows, correct?
Correct.
You can take that down, Mr. Wolf. You know that the Ring camera at One Meadows, in existence when Aperture did the work on October 2nd, 2024, was different than the Ring camera that was in existence on January 29th of 2022, the date where you went through to see if those two vehicles align. Is that correct? The cameras are different.
That is correct.
And you know that the cameras are different, and you knew that as part of your analysis, correct?
Correct.
Did you document the differences between the two cameras as part of any work performed at One Meadows?
Yes.
And did you measure any differences there might have been between the location of the new Ring camera from the older one that was in existence on January 29th of 2022?
No, what we did is use the current Ring camera in conjunction with the old Ring camera, and with the laser scans, we're able to, again, map the points onto the scene. That's why I showed you the report from the photogrammetry software that reported our error.
Sir, my question was just measurement, not your process.
Oh.
Did you measure the difference
I don't believe so.
between where the old camera was and where the new camera was?
No, it was angled slightly more to the right, though.
How would you know that if you were not retained on January 29th of 2022? How would you know where the original angles were?
Because when you look at the first camera, the one on January 22nd, it's here. The new one is slightly over to the right.
That's an eyeball approximation analysis. That's not a measurement,
Right.
correct?
Well, I don't know that we actually measured it, but we accounted for it and corrected for it. But you can see, for example, what the original one shows, for example, to the left-hand side, compared to what the new one shows to the left-hand side, and it's angled more to the right.
Sir, you have experience with Ring cameras, correct?
I do.
And I think a lot of members of the public have experience with Ring cameras. You can move just the camera portion ever so slightly and change significantly the angle of the camera, can't you, what it captures? Just a small turn,
Potentially.
right? Even a millimeter turn can make a change. A 2 millimeter, a 1 inch can make a significant change with regard to what the camera captures, correct?
Could, sure.
So, did you measure whether the newer camera that was present on October 2nd, 2024 was installed to the left? And I'm talking measure to the right, to the top or the bottom relative to the camera that was there on January 29th of 2022.
So we solved for the camera
I'm
position.
asking if you measured, sir.
Oh, no, we didn't measure.
So let's talk about some other
30 minutes later.
differences with regard to cameras and Ring cameras. Different Ring cameras can have different levels of distortion, correct?
Potentially.
Cameras, well, are you saying that all Ring cameras have the same level of distortion?
No, but again, they're mass produced. So you could have some that have the same exact distortion. You could have some that have different.
And you don't know the comparative distortion between what I'm just going to now refer to as the old Ring camera that was there January 29, 2022, and the camera that you saw on October 2024, which I'll refer to the new camera. You don't know the difference in the distortion between those cameras as you sit here today, do you?
So we know enough information that if the distortions had been different, our errors would have been too high. And so the fact that our errors are within acceptable, or what's called an RMS error, we know that the distortions are similar enough to give us accurate measurements.
Sir, that is speculation.
That
That
is
is
not
not
more
data. That is
speculation.
not a measurement.
That's not
You didn't
data. That's
measure the
not
distortion,
measurement.
sir, did you? If the cameras, you didn't have the old camera to do it.
You're just
We
assuming
didn't, but
that.
we had images from the old camera. And then when we get images from the new camera and solve those camera properties and then overlay data from the old images to the new images with the point clouds, if that distortion is too great, we will have too high of errors in our project, which is why I showed the error report from the photogrammetry process to show that we have checked for that and documented that our errors are in acceptable range so that we have confidence in our results.
You do not have information from the manufacturer of Ring. You didn't present it and you don't have it as to what is the acceptable level of distortion for the analysis that you did, do you, sir?
The
You have
photogrammetry,
that from Ring.
and I don't have it for Ring, but I
Thank
don't need
you.
it from Ring.
So now let's go to, if cameras have different levels of distortion, that would change the analysis in reconciling the difference between their angles. That's a pretty straightforward proposition, sir, wouldn't it?
So it depends on how much difference it is, but we have accounted for that.
With which model of the Ring camera was present at One Meadows on January 29, 2022? Which model?
The old one.
I don't know. I'd have to go look through the data.
Bro.
Do you believe I'm not going to take up the time to have you look, but do you really believe you've got the model of the Ring camera that was in existence on January 29th of 2022?
I don't know. I
You
need to
didn't
look through the
present it
report.
in your direct testimony, did you, sir?
I did not.
So do you have the model of the Ring camera that was present at One Meadows on October 2nd, 2024?
No,
So you don't have even the model for either one of them.
nope, but we have videos from both of them and scans of the scene.
So now let's talk about another aspect of Ring cameras. They have mechanisms, as I was talking about earlier, that allow the user to adjust the camera angle, correct?
Correct.
And do you know whether there was a difference in the camera angle between the two cameras?
Yes, as we already discussed, there was a slight difference in the
But
angle.
you don't have a measurement of that, right, sir?
Correct.
Okay.
But we accounted for it.
So wouldn't a difference in models of Ring cameras be relevant at all to your analysis of trying to reconcile any differences between them?
So if you have video from both of them and you have laser scans with three-dimensional geometry of the scene, you can go in and it's called a reverse camera analysis and solve for the distortion properties. The scans give you the real world dimensions. So once you know the real world dimensions, you can then go in, you can go in and then solve for the camera lens properties based upon the real world distortions. So for example, if there's a little bit of bending at the end, the laser scan data will show that, and you can correct for that knowing information about the laser scanner.
I'll ask
the
the
laser
question.
scan data.
I'm sorry, I thought you finished, sir. I'm going to ask the question again because it's a narrow question. Wouldn't knowing the difference in the models be relevant? That's all I'm asking. Wouldn't it be relevant to your analysis of reconciling the differences?
Simple, dude.
Wouldn't
No.
it be relevant?
No,
So you think the different models are irrelevant to any process you occasioned at one? It's irrelevant.
so the analysis of the video itself is more important than the models?
I'm not asking if it's more important. I'm just asking, would it be relevant?
No, I don't believe it'd be relevant.
Now let's
So
go
why
to
didn't
another
you buy
aspect
some
of the
random ass
cameras.
fucking SUV? Why did you buy the same?
Are key parameters in a camera that the
Why did you buy
software
the same
needs
make,
to
model,
know
year as
focal
Karen
length?
Reed's SUV?
It is.
Is imaging size something that is an important parameter in a camera?
Yes.
Are sampling characteristics an important parameter in cameras?
Can be.
Is the principal point, you understand that concept, sir? Is that an important parameter in a camera?
Define how you're using principal point.
Sure. A principal point of an image is the point where a camera's direct line of sight, called, as you may know, the optical axis, intersects the image plane. Does that
Gotcha,
sound
yes.
familiar?
Mhm.
So isn't that the image's mathematical center, the principal point?
More or less, yes.
And for high accuracy photogrammetric work, it's important to know if the lens is mounted centered over the image sensor due to the small manufacturing variances, correct?
Could be important.
And if the principal point is the center of the image. That's relevant. So doesn't that affect the mathematical calculation of the light ray geometry?
It could.
So the variance in manufacturing between cameras is a known issue. Do you agree?
I do.
There's small manufacturing variances that affect one of the key components of the fundamental parameters of the camera, namely the principal point, right?
Correct.
Did you perform the camera calibration of the camera in place in October of 2024?
Yes. So within photogrammetry, we calibrated the photogrammetric analysis to the camera.
Did you address the principal point in that calibration? Do you have documentation that you addressed that important factor, the principal point?
So the checking of the RMS error in the software takes into account, sums up all the potential errors in the measurement, which would include that.
Okay. Sir, You know the importance of all of these topics because the output of all the work Aperture did at One Meadows, almost all of it, springs from that camera, correct?
It starts there.
Okay, it starts there. And if the starting point is wrong, then where you go from the starting point is going to be at least potentially wrong, correct?
Good morning, Connor.
Potentially.
Thanks for being here.
Would you agree that Ring cameras have a swiveling mechanism so that the user can adjust the camera angle?
Some do.
Right.
Do you know whether the camera that was in existence on January 29, 2022 had a swiveling mechanism?
I believe it did.
Believe? Do you know?
I do not know for a fact, but
you-
those style of Ring cameras on the surveillance have adjustability that includes angle.
But you don't know whether the camera that was there, the specific camera on January 29, 2022, had a swiveling mechanism or not, correct?
Correct.
And do you know whether the camera that you saw in October of 2024 had a swiveling mechanism on it?
It did.
And where did you document the fact that it had a swiveling mechanism?
I think we have photos of the camera.
Did you document it in writing, and did you document the tolerance of the swiveling mechanism?
No.
Let's go to, and again, all of the camera, this camera that you used is the starting point for your laser scan and photogrammetry process, correct?
Correct.
All right. Let's go to another topic. On your direct testimony, as I recall, you stated essentially from various information that you lined up in the video, and we're talking about the lining up of the Lexus with the Traverse. And this is at One Meadows. And so, as I understand what you did, sir, is you took what are called point clouds, 3D images, created them for the Lexus. You took created 3D images, synonym point clouds of the Traverse, and then you attempted to line them up to determine, among other things, whether they would align sufficient so that the Lexus could line up and potentially hit the Traverse such that the tail light of the Lexus could be broken. Was that at least part of your analysis?
That was part. There was more.
So, you showed a slide, a few slides, and with your Honor's permission, what I'd like to do is to start with slide 90.
All right, do you have any problem with Dr. Welchure keeping his printed copy that he was using?
I have no problem with the printed copy, Your Honor.
So, I'm sorry, what slide again?
90.
Your Honor, my printed copy is tiny. Can I
Can
pull
you
it up?
see the?
Yes. Yeah.
Does that slide that's part of your presentation depict a view from the top of the Lexus on the right and the Chevy Traverse on the left?
Correct.
And is that depicting contact between the two vehicles?
It is.
Now let's zero in a closer look, and that is a contact point. Am I correct?
Correct. I mean, there's multiple points. There's more than
Multiple
one.
points, but it shows more clearly the contact
Correct.
between the two vehicles. Now, if we could the next, and that is number 91, Mr. Wolf. So, Your Honor, 91. I think these are just going to go in order for a few, and I'll keep announcing them. So, this is 91, same vehicles, just a different viewpoint. Is that correct, Dr. Welcher?
Correct. This and the next
I
slide.
just want to stay
I know.
with this one. I just
Hold on a
asked the
second.
question, does it show the contact?
So go ahead and answer now.
This slide and all the other slides, we're trying to show the angle of contact, but because it's two-dimensional image, you're losing some perspective. For example, here you're seeing the chrome piece on Mr. O'Keefe's Chevrolet, which is on the right. You're seeing it obviously behind where the Lexus is. So we were trying to show it at a whole bunch of different angles to try and illustrate the degree of closeness or lack thereof.
All right. So
Thank you.
is it correct that on your direct examination, you said in sum and substance, we looked at the degree of overlap and there's only about a 2 to 3 millimeters of overlap between the vehicles? Is that what you recall saying on direct?
That is correct.
And that you stated that that supposed 2 to 3 millimeters of overlap was insufficient to cause the tail light of the Lexus to contact the rear of the Chevrolet. You recall saying that?
That's correct.
Now, I would like you to look at that. This is from your slide presentation. Is that not showing contact between the two vehicles?
Oh, it absolutely is not. What you're seeing is a portion of the vehicle that is behind the area. Keep in mind the angle, the Lexus is angled off to the left. So the area that you see here is actually, in this case, in front of where the taillight is. This is why we tried showing it from a whole bunch of different angles, because when you try and take a two-dimensional image and look at it, you see stuff in the background. So and again, this is why in the computer, we overlaid them, looked at the measurements, in the computer where you don't have this, we have the three-dimensional measurements and it does not hit.
Where did you show in your slide presentation what you just said, that it doesn't show an overlap?
So
Where?
it shows a contact. It definitely contacted, I'm sorry, Mr. Reporter, down below here. It does not show a contact here. So to answer your question, all the next slides were our attempt to do that. So all the next slides is your answer.
We're going to go to those next slides. So just to be clear, you're saying that that depiction does not show any contact between the taillight of the Lexus and the Chevy Traverse.
So the upper taillight, just to be clear, because the lower taillight is much closer.
Well, it's not only much closer, it's in contact, isn't it, sir?
It's very close. It's probably within an inch being in contact.
Oh, so you state that even the lower part of the taillight is not making contact?
So again, maybe there's a photo we could show or a scan. That is on the rear of the vehicle and it contacts on the corner, which is just around. So maybe like an inch or so in front of it on the corner.
I'm just going with what you presented in your slide
Well, let's go to the next
presentation.
slides and then
Sir,
maybe
I
we'll
will
see.
determine which slides we go to on
Get
my
'em.
questioning.
I'm
Let
just
him know.
open
So
to
now
answer
let's
questions.
go to Mr. Wolf, the next slide.
You're not in control here,
There
asshole.
we go.
In your presentation, my question is zeroing in. Are you saying that that slide does not show contact between the tail light of Ms. Reed's Lexus and any part of the Chevy Traverse?
Yeah, absolutely. It's exactly what it shows. You can see a little better here. Again, we tried all these different angles, which is why all these slides are in there. But you can see some of the geometry of the light. This structure, and again, remember I said the Chevy kind of curves in as it goes up a little bit.
Let's go to the next slide. 40. 40, yes, please. Is it working? 41, Your Honor.
Right, thank you.
One moment, Your Honor.
That's exhibit 41? No, I have a question because that's not my slide.
So, Mr. Alessi, is this exhibit number 41 or is this from the PowerPoint? Because,
Slide 41. Slide.
okay.
Yes.
So I'm putting this up because I want to show an actual photograph of that tail light. And I would like you, sir, to focus on the quarter panel tail light in each. Do you see a jutting out of the quarter panel tail light in that photo? You see it jut out?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you and I are talking the same thing. There are little fins here.
It's right there. Just say yes.
Correct.
It's sticking the fuck out of the
Now,
car, dude.
what I'd like to do is to go back to the depiction we were just looking at. And that depiction doesn't show the jutting out, does it?
No, it does.
Does it?
Those are actually more on the side of the vehicle. You can't see them in this image.
Correct. You
But-
can't see that.
Hold on a second. I wasn't finished. But
Sir.
they are 100% there.
No, unless
We
he's gonna fucking
actually did special
He's gonna
hand
knock this
scans with
motherfucker
a
out,
hand
dude.
scanner of the taillight to put it back on to the vehicle.
You say they're 100% there, but you can't see it in that depiction, can you? The jutting out that you could see in the two-dimensional one we just saw. You can't see it.
I can't see who's behind that wall because it's being blocked by something. I can't see on the side of the taillight because it's on the side I can't see. It's being blocked.
Sir, my question is simple. You cannot see the jutting out of the tail light in this depiction, can you?
Correct.
Okay, now let's go on to the next question in this
How hard was
topic. You could have easily solved what you consider to be the issues you had with trying to show it lining up, couldn't you, sir? You had an easy solution for that.
I took the best solution. I'm not sure what
You
you're
had
referring to.
3D images, correct?
I did.
You could have shown and measured 3D images to get almost the exact contact point and almost the exact dimensions if you had just used the 3D images that you had available to you. Isn't that correct?
That's exactly what we did. When I went through the video analysis, I showed you how we overlaid the point clouds, the 3D scans on top of each vehicle. So we took the, we took
Sir,
the vehicles.
please don't interrupt.
Hold on.
Your
Hold
Honor,
on.
he keeps referencing my hand and saying I'm doing something when I'm not. And I think that's distracting to the jury.
So-
I'm not interrupting
Hold
him.
on. Let the witness
Dude, unless
answer
he's
the
gonna
I am.
question.
I'm just holding my hand like this, Your Honor. He keeps saying that I'm doing
Mr.
something.
Alessi, please.
All right.
Go ahead, finish the answer.
Dude.
Again,
I
in the
feel so bad
photogrammetric
for him
analysis,
right now.
I
He's
showed the
so
video.
bad.
I showed how we overlaid the point cloud on top of the video. That proves that the way we solved it, correct camera characteristics,
Hang in there,
matches.
Bob. Hang in
Otherwise,
there,
that would
man.
be distorted.
Together.
We overlaid the scans of the Lexus into the photogrammetric analysis. We overlaid the scans of the scene into the photogrammetric analysis. We overlaid all that stuff into the analysis. We did exactly what you're suggesting.
You could have easily addressed this issue by the following. If you really believe there was no contact or not sufficient contact, you could have
There you go,
produced a
Bob.
graphic
Chill out.
that shows a gap between the
Beethoven.
two vehicles. A graphic, couldn't you? That's not a graphic.
What is that?
Sir, I get to ask the questions and you are to answer them
There
subject to
you
the judge's
go.
ruling. So my
Beethoven.
question is, couldn't you
Chill
have
out.
created a graphic that
That's-
would have better shown
Sorry.
the issue that you are creating or talking about today? That's my question. Couldn't you have created a graphic?
We did. We created a whole bunch of graphics.
You called what we just saw a graphic?
Yes.
Well, if there's a gap, why isn't there then something that shows a clear
gap.
gap?
Right.
Because when you have the angulation of the vehicles, you have perspective. When you're looking at it,
An
even if you do
aerial
it top
view
down,
of
you
the
see
gap,
everything
bro.
projected onto a single
A
flat plane.
graphic
So
in
you
an
can't tell the
aerial
height
view
of things. So when you see things in this dimension, you can't necessarily see depth of things. So you lose in two-dimensional images, you lose one dimension depending on which way you're looking. That's why I showed it from all these different angles to try and show exactly what you're saying. We had graphics to do that.
3D images allow you to show perspectives for 360 degrees, correct?
Exactly. Why didn't you
Is that
create
correct?
a
That is
graphic
correct.
with an
So-
aerial viewpoint?
None of what
Show
you
the gap.
presented in your slideshow shows the contact points from 360 degrees, does it?
I don't understand your question. Are you asking if I showed it at every single, I went through 360 slides that showed it at every single degree?
Sir,
This
let's
guy
move
goes
on.
from being
I
a
think I've
genius
made
to an
the point.
idiot, back and forth.
So I'm going to strike the comment,
Okay.
Mr. Alessi.
Dr. Welcher, let's go to the next topic. And keep with these two depictions. Are these two images point clouds or 3D images? Are these two?
Those are one and the same thing. They're yes.
I would use them as synonym. Which term of the two do you want to use? Point cloud or 3D images?
Both are fine. It's a 3D image composed of points, whichever.
Okay, so let's just call them 3D images, so we
Okay.
can do this more quickly. The Lexus and the Chevy Traverse that are depicted there are both 3D images of those vehicles, correct?
Correct.
And Aperture created the 3D images, correct?
Correct.
Sir, did you do these scans and did you personally create these images?
No, one of the assistants at Aperture did.
So you're speaking about what somebody else did at Aperture, correct?
They were
Right.
doing it at my direction. And for example,
Bro.
the Lexus scan, I showed the photographs. You can see the gentleman that works at Aperture, Mike Morelli, was scanning them for me while I was doing the rest of the inspection. And then the hand scanning of the rear tail light was done by another engineer. I was out there with him doing it, taking measurements. And then same thing
Eyeballing
with the Chevy
measurements.
Traverse.
My question is, you didn't do the creation of these 3D images, did you?
The individual images, no.
All right, so let's go to these individual images. These are 3D images, is that your testimony?
Yes.
Let's look at the taillight.
Okay.
That's not a 3D image, that's a Photoshop, isn't it?
Nope.
Oh, so it's your testimony that that taillight is a 3D image?
That absolutely is a 3D image. The way you can tell is when you get up near the chrome, because lasers don't like shiny objects, you start to get a scatter. So see all these dots here? If that was a photo, you wouldn't have these dots.
Let's go to the Chevy Traverse. Let's, Mr. Woke, zero in on the content, yeah. There's grain on that taillight, in the taillight. That's a 3D image of a taillight, isn't it, sir?
They're both 3D images.
Well, I just want to stay with one. That taillight is a 3D image, and one of the ways you can
This
tell
dude
is
needs to
it's got
shut
all
the
that
fuck up,
grainy
dude.
material on it, correct?
Correct.
Now let's go back, Mr. Woke, to the Lexus. Let's now go to the bumper.
But do you want me to explain
Yeah.
the difference?
No,
This
Okay.
thank
guy
you.
is-
I would like to go to the bumper. Do you see any grainy, the predominance of any grainy image on the bumper?
There's a little bit. So for example, when you get near edges, it has a hard time with edges.
I'm
So
sorry,
you-
the bumper cover.
right.
See the bumper cover up above?
This whole thing is the bumper cover. That's the step pad. That's the rear body panel or the rear deck lid.
I'm talking about the step pad, sir? Just the step pad of the bumper?
Are you asking about just from here to here?
Correct. The bumper step
Can we
pad.
zoom in on it?
Pardon me?
Can we zoom in on it?
Sure. Do you see any?
Yeah, I see graininess.
Let's go over to.
Right in here. You can see it all through here. You see it through here.
Well, I'm talking about the step pad, not the entire bumper. I'm just talking about the step pad.
Right. So you're zooming in on the bumper.
Right.
The step pad is this structure up here.
We're going to move up. It just takes a while. So your testimony is that is a.
Can you zoom in more?
That's you would like it zoomed in?
Yes, sir.
Sure. Your testimony is that that is a 3D image, not a Photoshopped step bumper cover. Is that correct?
So we have mapped the color over the 3D scans. We used 2 separate scanners. If you recall, when I got out to Miss Reed's vehicle, that taillight was gone. So we had to replace the taillight.
Talking about the bumper cover, not the taillight.
Okay, I'm explaining the process.
I'm just asking about the bumper cover, not
I
the
don't
process.
need the fucking
focus
process,
range on the
asshole.
That is a laser scan.
Bev
Okay,
needs
so
to control this
your
That's a 3D
testimony
model.
is the step part of the bumper cover is a 3D image from a laser scan, and it's not a Photoshop. That's your testimony.
Absolutely.
And you didn't perform the work for the 3D that you claim the bumper step up is. You didn't do that work to produce that depiction, did you, sir? Somebody
So-
else in your firm did it.
So this is all done at my direction. The engineers that work for me, so I'm telling them what to do. I'm not the one punching the keys.
That's
I'm
my
saying,
question.
I need you to do this, and this. Use the hand scanner, go scan the light. I need to put this back in because it was missing when we got to it. So no, I'm not punching the keys.
Okay, so
Okay. Come on over, please.
I actually like that there's a sidebar right now because Bob Alessi is getting angry, and rightfully so, because not only is he dealing with a hostile witness, Judge Beverly Cannoni's doing nothing about it. And that has got to be completely and totally frustrating to him. That's got to be infuriating to him. Like I've never seen Bob get like that, dude. Like that shit is crazy to me. That this dude, when you meet this guy in person, behind the scenes, he's exactly as calm and chill and focused on. He's hyper focused on whatever the fuck he's doing, whether he's in court arguing a case, or if he's eating fucking cereal out of a goddamn Ziploc bag in a plastic spoon. He's hyper focused on everything that he's doing, and he does so delicately. Everything. And right now, he is becoming infuriated, and I don't blame him, because this is the craziest shit I've ever seen. Everyone, anybody with any, like, from covering a trial to actually being an attorney and having been in a trial, this is something that guaranteed you've never seen before. Guaranteed. This is corruption in your face. There is no reason why Beverly Cannoni should not have told him to take off his fucking watch. Easy solution. Just take the watch off. Put it in your pocket.
with regard to, no, we don't need him back up, Mr. Wolf. Isn't it correct
His excuse was emails.
that
He's going to answer
3D
emails on the stand?
images allow for proper and most accurate measurements as opposed to 2D images? Is that a correct general statement?
I mean, generally, yeah.
Okay, that's my question. So let's go to the next topic. Let's talk about hydraulics on the Lexus SUV. What type of hydraulic system does the Lexus SUV have?
So it has a mechanism, I believe it's actually pneumatic. It's air-based system that raises it up and down.
Do you know what the name of that system is, sir?
No,
course
not off the top of my
you
head.
Of
Do you
course
know how it
don't.
works
I do.
specifically?
Well, I mean, I know generally that there's a button on the interior where you can raise and lower the ride height.
And is that the extent of your knowledge of that system on the Lexus?
No, and again, I know when you park it, it'll drop down the ride height. When you adjust it for different roadway conditions, it'll change the ride height.
Do you know what the height tolerances are? In other words, the lowest to the highest?
I believe it's around 1.25 inches. At one point in time, I measured it. I don't remember off the top of my head.
So you believe it's 1.25 inches up and 1.25 inches down? How do you apply the 1.25 inches?
I recall the total being like 1.25 inches, but I measured it at one point in time. I just don't remember off the top of my head.
Would you be surprised to hear that the tolerance is 5 inches on that vehicle?
I would be surprised. I don't recall it being that much, but I would need to double check.
Assume
Mhm.
that the manual as well as other informations support that the tolerance is 5 inches and that specifically the vehicle can be raised 3 inches high and it can be lowered 2 inches. That's the basis for the 5. What was the suspension height of Miss Reed's Lexus that you used for your accident reconstruction analysis out front at 34 Fairview between 12 a.m. and 1 a.m. on January 29, 2022 to determine whether it was possible for the spoiler on the back of the Lexus to make contact with the eye of Mr. O'Keefe? If it was even possible, what did you use for a measurement of the suspension?
Matched the measurements from when the vehicle was tested, I believe on February 1st at the Canton Police Department.
What match did you make?
So we aligned the bottom of the taillight, actually the sheet metal right below the taillight. So we adjusted the height of the Lexus to match that.
Did you in any place document what level the Lexus was at the time of any testing, meaning the suspension? Did you document at all?
Yes.
Where?
Slide 107.
Can we have slide 107, Mr. Wolf?
And then if you could zoom in on the lower photograph, the gentleman with the blue shirt. Zoom in a little more, please. So if I may, we matched the bottom of the sheet metal here to photographs when it was at the Canton Police Department.
Sir, my question is, where did you document whether the suspension was at 0, whether it was +3 or -2? Where did you document that?
Where
Right
did you
here.
document the suspension? It's a simple question.
And
I don't even know about cars, and I know what the fuck
are
he's
the
saying.
numbers of the documentation of that?
I don't know. We were matching the photos. So I don't care what the numbers are. I care that the height is the same.
Okay, so I just heard you say, if I heard correctly, you don't care what the suspension is at. Is that your testimony?
No, I don't care what the suspension number is as long as the heights match.
I understand. I understand. So what was the suspension height of Miss Reed's Lexus at 5:07 a.m. on January 29th, 2022, while at One Meadows and colliding with the Chevy Traverse? What was the suspension height then?
We assumed it was the same as when it was at the Canton Police Department.
Exactly. You assumed, but there's no measurement like was just on that depiction. There was no note that said, okay, we're doing this very important and inches sensitive measurements to see whether the tail light on the Lexus makes contact with the Traverse, but there's no measurement and no documentation of what the suspension height was at One Meadows, correct?
So we took the
Oh
closest
my
measurement in
God.
time
Yes
to
or
the
no?
Mun Meadows event, which is when it was at the Canton Police Department. That was the best information we had.
Well, that information isn't very good because the vehicle had to go from Canton to One Meadows. And when the vehicle drives, the way the suspension system works, it's automatic. When you go above 20 miles an hour, the suspension comes up. And when you turn off the vehicle, it goes down so you can get out easier. So it would be improper to assume that the suspension at One Meadows would be the same at another location.
That's the only, sorry,
Was there an objection? Yeah. Go ahead and answer, please.
that's the extent of the information we had. We had it when it was at the Canton Police Department.
That's-
We matched that height.
Sorry, sir. I understand.
But actually, you brought up a good point. It's going so slow when it's backing up that it wouldn't raise up. So the static position when it's backing up would be the static position.
But it wouldn't be going in backup from the Canton Police Department to One Meadows. It wouldn't be going back up when it's going in other locations, sir, right? It would be driving forward. It had to get from point A to point B.
Right, but as you pointed out, when you turn it off, it drops down, and then you turn it on, and then once you go above 20, as you indicated, it goes up. But when she's backing up, she never goes more than a couple miles an hour. So it's going to be at the same position as when you start, which is approximately the same position when it's off at the Canton Police Department a couple days later.
Do you know whether the suspension system
Killing me,
locks
Fucking killing me, dude.
when there is testing of the infotainment system?
Whether the suspensions, I don't know.
Okay. Let's go on to the next topic.
The first straight answer this guy
You're
gave,
aware
and it wasn't
of
even a yes or
the
no.
vehicle control, excuse me, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor. I want to go, I'm changing topics to go back now to Fairview, 34 Fairview. You don't know what the suspension ride height at 34 Fairview was on January 29th of 2022, do you?
Correct.
So therefore, if you don't know what the suspension height was, because of course you weren't there on January 29, 2022. Therefore there's no measuring stick, as you say, you assert that you would have accounted for it in your methodology. So you don't have the suspension height for that key day, do you, sir?
I only have it 2 days later.
All right. So when you talk about key measurements, such as the spoiler on the top of the Lexus and the inches that are important as to whether things such as, is there a contact with the front eye, you don't have some data that would be relevant to that calculation, the sum data being the suspension height of the Lexus at that time, do you?
So we have some data. We have photos of the vehicle 2 days later. We don't know the exact height outside because, as you alluded to, we don't have a measurement on January 29th of it, but we do have it 2 days later. That's the source of the measurement.
You don't have the suspension height or the setting of the suspension of the Lexus that existed on January 29th, 2022, do you?
Correct.
Now let's go on to another topic. Within the 34 Fairview on January 29th
forever,
of 2022, I'm not going to go over them, but you asserted various measurements, height, width, with regard to the Lexus, correct? It wasn't just for the spoiler at the top, correct?
Correct.
And for all those other measurements that you talked about, you did not have the suspension height and the suspension setting of the hydraulic system of the Lexus on January 29th, 2022, did you?
So the hydraulic's only going to affect the vertical dimensions. It doesn't change anything left to right. And it doesn't change anything down the side of the car.
Understood. But for
Yeah,
the the
everyone knows
measurements
that.
that are affected by vertical,
Mhm.
you didn't have the suspension height of the Lexus system on January 29th, 2022.
Again,
Did you?
I only know what it is 2 days later.
So now let's go on to vehicle control history. Sir, you understand what I mean by vehicle control history of
Do? This is
VCH?
text stream information.
Are you aware of what is called the Bosch crash data retrieval system in Lexus vehicles?
Of course, we showed it on my slides.
And the Bosch crash data retrieval system in Lexus vehicles is sometimes referred to as the black box.
No, you're mixing up two things. So the Bosch is like the tools.
It's a question, sir.
So you answer that with a yes or no?
Is the Bosch crash data retrieval system the black box on Lexus vehicles? I just wanted to repeat it so we can.
I didn't hear what the objection. You objecting?
I'd like him to be able to finish his answers.
Yeah. So the question was just asked. Can you answer that question?
No, it doesn't make sense.
Okay, next
Wow.
question, Mr. Wilson.
I'm going to ask the question, sir.
Yeah, dude. I'm asking
The Bosch
question anyway,
crash
fuckhead.
data retrieval system in Lexus vehicles. You're familiar with that? Are you familiar?
What is going on here? Channel 5, get your shit together. All right, I'm gonna refresh. Maybe it's just the feed. It's the feed. That has nothing to do with me. Let me see. Maybe let's try long crime.
The VCH system in Lexuses. Is the VCH system intended by Lexus as a diagnostic tool for their technicians, Lexus technicians, to assist in vehicle repair and maintenance? Is that what that is created for?
That's their stated purpose.
Right. And is a synonym for VCH TechStream? Is
Sort of. TechStream, similar, like Bosch is the hardware and software to access the black box data. TechStream is the software to access, for example, the pre-collision system, the PCS system, and the VCH, which is the vehicle control history. So TechStream which does a lot of other stuff, but does access that information.
You just mentioned Bosch, didn't you, sir?
So Bosch is not in the Lexus. You use Bosch stuff sold by Bosch, Bosch software and hardware, and you walk up to the Lexus with all the Bosch stuff and plug it in and download the event data recorder, the EDR, the black box. That was my problem. There is no
Understood.
Bosch stuff in the Lexus.
I understand, sir. That was going to be the question that I was trying to get to, but you've explained it, so I don't have to answer the question. Let's go to the VCH database that you say the stated purpose is to assist technicians at Lexus in vehicle repair and maintenance.
So I didn't say that was a stated purpose. I'm saying that's what Lexus or Toyota says is a stated purpose. It's being used in litigation all the time. All I know is that's what Lexus and Toyota says. But again, it came about right when we started seeing all the sudden accelerations in the Toyota vehicles.
So my question is the VCH database specific to Toyota and Lexus vehicles?
So it's not a database, it's software.
Is the software specific to Lexus and Toyota, the VCH?
Those particular acronyms are, yes.
Want to move to another topic, and we are almost finished. We have just two more topics, sir. How common were VCH events when Miss Reed owned the Lexus?
In 2022,
Do you know the ownership period of Miss Reed with respect to the Lexus? You know how long she owned it?
I have that documentation. I don't know off the top of my head.
Do you have an approximate?
No, I mean, it was a 2021 vehicle. Our accident's January 29, 2022. But I did get that information.
Do you know how many VCH events were associated with the Lexus of Miss Reed?
I did not count them, no. I have them all.
Do you
I was
have-
only focused on the ones around our time period.
Exactly. But do you have the number of events? Do you know how many there were?
I could get it for you.
How long would it take, sir?
3 minutes?
Why don't we come back to it
Okay.
and we'll see if it's.
How about I start this so that we don't have to wait for it to boot up? And then when we come back to it, it's ready to go. You
As
okay
long
with
as
that?
that's all you're looking at, sir.
Yep.
Thank you. And then pick your head up, please, so I can finish these two
Please,
topics.
go ahead.
So how often were VCH events recorded on the Lexus before January 29th of 2022?
Man, I have to pull this data up.
Fair
to-
enough, fair
to
enough.
answer that
I
question.
assume that's going to be in what you're also pulling up.
That's the goal here.
Dude, watch your fucking
Would the number
attitude.
be about 15? Does that sound right to you?
Let's see. 1, 2. There's 18.
18. So there were your records show that there were 18 VCH events recorded on Miss Reed's Lexus, correct?
Before the subject one.
Right. Did you conclude that any of those events, other than the 1162-2, were a collision?
No.
Now let's go to reverse recorded events. Can you tell how many of those 18 events were reverse recorded events? And you know what I mean by reverse recorded events? The
Yes.
vehicle going in reverse? How
Correct.
many of those events were the vehicle going in reverse?
And this is before.
4. Other than,
He asked
No, no,
you,
I said
is this before?
yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, I would have to pull up the PCS file.
Could you start that and I can continue on with the questioning?
I got to, so the PCS file is I have a second laptop that
Here's
has
what I'm going to
texturing.
do. That's not important for me to keep going and get through it.
Okay.
So let's just stay on the events, okay? Only one of all of those events, those 18, are you concluding that there was a collision associated with them, correct? Just one.
No, all those 18 are before. The collision is number 19.
No, I'm saying, I understand what you're saying, but for all the other events that are recorded, you're not, other than the January 29, 1162-2, you're not concluding that any of those were collisions, correct?
I didn't look at them. They were so far mileage away from everything.
But you're not concluding, even though they were so far away and you didn't look at them, you don't conclude from the information you have that any of them were a collision, correct?
Sustained.
Let's go to 5:07 a.m. on January 29th, 2022 at One Meadows, the home of Mr. O'Keefe.
Okay.
There was a collision between Miss Reed's 6,000-pound Lexus and Mr. O'Keefe's approximately 4,500 Chevy Traverse. That's undisputed, correct? They collided, they made contact.
They touched.
Right.
Dude.
But the actual collision at One Meadows did not register the recording of an event on the Lexus VCH system, did it?
Correct. Too minor.
So, however, you want this jury, sir, to conclude that the glancing blow that you contend occurred at 34 Fairview Road by the same 6,000-pound Lexus in contact with a mere 216-pound man did register an event on the Lexus, correct?
No, the impact didn't register the event. As I pointed out, the trigger was from when the accelerator pedal went to 30%. The tech stream does not register crashes at all. It registers excessive acceleration, excessive steering, excessive braking, things like that, things that would be part of the maintenance system. So the tech stream will never.
So you have no proof that he hit John, that she hit John with her vehicle.
Necessarily. They don't call it fault codes and things like that, but that's not what it does. The trigger here was transitioning into reverse and then gunning the accelerator pedal in reverse. And so when it went from 30 up to 74% throttle, once it went over 30 in that transition, that's what triggered the tech stream. It had nothing to do with, and that's why I'm telling you, I don't know when in that event the impact occurred, because the tech stream doesn't tell you that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Exactly my point.
There it is.
Tech stream
Exactly.
information doesn't tell you when a collision occurs, does it?
Correct.
So what does? And did you test that?
That's all the questions I have at this time, Your Honor.
All right, why don't we take our morning recess, Charles?
Yeah, dude. This is a good time to take the morning recess, bro. Because oh my God. Yo, I gotta be honest with you guys, man. I've never taken more ibuprofen in a short period of time in my life. Like I that shit was infuriating, man. And it really upset me to see Bob get upset like that, man. It really did. Like, it really upset me. Because he's just got to sit up there and be gaslit. He's got to sit there and take being gaslit by the witness, the prosecutor, and the judge. Like, it made me mad to hear Cannoni tell him to calm down. That pissed me off. Like, you are telling me to calm down? You just fucked me up here, dude. Like, you just completely fucked me. I mean, not totally. I mean, Karen Reed, her team still has the truth on their side. This was still a very effective cross, but he could have completely and totally shut the dude down by showing the flaws in his methodology. Knowing that this guy basically plagiarized and cherry-picked Trooper Paul's analysis, which was insanely fucking ridiculous. Anything that Trooper Paul touched, if that's being used, it's flawed. It's flawed. Everyone knows it. Cannoni knows it. Brennan knows it. I hope they call Trooper Paul, man. I don't even remember if he's on the witness list. I don't even remember if he's on the defense's witness list. I would be shocked if he wasn't. But so here's a good time, I think, to I think this is a good time to since this is the only break we're gonna have, I'm going to take this time to review the new Microdots video. Hopefully that'll put us in a little bit better of a mood, or it'll make us even more mad. Jesus. It's just crazy. All right, folks. Stop what you're doing right now. And give this video a like. And make sure to sub to Microdots. If you're not already. You're sleeping if you're not subscribed to Microdots.
Each one of these little hash marks, a different color, represents 10 feet. The red lines show the extent of motion. Remember what I said, initially pulled forward, then backed up, past its initial spot, and then went backwards further distance. So what this shows is where we simulated this in a program called HVE. So that's the vehicle, the Lexus pulling forward. It's still going approximately 23 miles an hour when that ends.
According to Commonwealth expert Judd Welchure, Karen Reed's Lexus was idling in position a short distance ahead of John O'Keefe, somewhere just beyond the flagpole. We'll refer to this as position 0. He claims she drove forward 34.
Okay, sorry about that. You see that? That's called a graphic. That's not a photograph. That's not a drawing. That is a digital graphic. And you're going to tell me that Aperture charging upwards of $325 to $400,000, charging the Commonwealth, couldn't do what Microdots does that costs him virtually nothing? I mean, think about that. You couldn't, that dude, Welchure, could not create a three-dimensional image. This is what Microdots does in almost every video. In almost every video. So you're sitting there, you create this image where one vehicle is blocking the other, and you expect everyone to assume that there's a gap there, instead of actually showing an aerial position, an aerial perspective of the two vehicles, a graphic of the two vehicles where you would see this gap. Why wouldn't you do that? And I'm not minimizing what Microdots does at all. What I'm saying is a company like Aperture and this guy with his PhD and all this bullshit, all these bells and whistles, and all this experience in accident reconstruction couldn't have done that. And here's the thing, is he could have. The simple answer is yes, he absolutely could have. Why didn't he? Not because he didn't know, not because he didn't know how, not because he didn't have the tools or the knowledge. You got Microdots, who's a single dad, holds down a job, does this shit basically for fun. basically, for fun. And this guy being contracted to conduct experiments, to conduct hypothesis, to conclude that Karen Reed, to conclude that a defendant on trial for murdering a police officer couldn't be that simply thorough. Like, I mean, you how could he not do that? Why wouldn't he do that is the big question. Why wouldn't he do it? We all know the answer. It's like I said, it's not like he doesn't know how, right? Ridiculous, dude. Absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
I think we got a super cat. Super cat. I think we got a super cat. Super cat. Super cat. Super cat. I think we got a super cat.
How dare you?
Kelly R, thank you so much. Every sidebar, Alessi was shut down, same as all his motions and her attitude towards him. The little digs, her behavior was dominated his ability to direct his questioning. Fucking infuriating. Yeah, I agree. I'm going to turn the chat off from the screen just for now so we can watch this.
He claims she drove forward 34 feet and stopped at position 1. Position 1 is even farther from the supposed point of impact than previously believed, and that matters. More distance means more time for John to react. They'd have you believe he was just standing still, willingly making himself a perfect target, so Karen could attempt a 1 in a million shot and actually make it. Fair.
Yeah, let's get real. So that's what's happening. John standing back there with a drink in his hand, talking about, yeah, I dare you to run me over, Karen. Yeah, I dare you. And she's like, oh, yeah? Brrr! Get the fuck out of my face with that shit, dude. No fucking way. No fucking way. I don't care how drunk he was. No fucking way. Dude, you move. Yeah, you don't stand there going, yeah, just run me over. If you're willing to run me over, my life isn't even worth living anyway, so go ahead. Something about John. Here's the thing about John. If I were to take away one impression from John based on the text message threads that I got that pertain to this case and that theory, if I were to take one thing away from that, is that John O'Keefe was not a drama queen. This is a guy who hated arguing. This is a guy who is like, I'm not doing this with you. I'm just not doing it. Like, I got too much important shit going on. And I don't want to sit here and talk about where our relationship is and where it's going right now. I just don't want to fucking do that. Now, was he being kind of a dick? Yeah. Was he being a drama queen? No. Neither was Karen. Karen was just like, all I want to do is talk. I want to know where we're at. I'd like to meet somewhere, speak in person so that we can look each other in the eyes and talk like adults and find out if we have a future together. That's what I would like to do. That is what adults do. That's what grown-ups do. Now, was John being a little childish? Sure. I wouldn't say he was being a complete and utter fucking child and a dick, but he was being kind of a dick. And he was being kind of childish. But in no way, shape, or form was he being dramatic. That is a drama. That's drama queen shit. standing there like an asshole going, fine, my life isn't worth living anyway. Go ahead and run me over. Fuck it. Come on, man. Come on, man. And that's just what, one of how many theories? Come on.
Fairview Road is typically quiet, with little traffic and minimal ambient noise. In those conditions, the sound of an approaching vehicle speeding towards you wouldn't just be audible, it would be alarming.
Facts. It would absolutely be audible, and it would absolutely be alarming. For sure. There's no traffic on that street, dude. I was just there. Esty was nice enough to drive me and Annie over to 34 Fairview when we were up there. I'd been there before. Tom and Scott McGinnis took me the first time. And I asked Esty, would it be okay? Because she was giving us a ride back to the hotel. And she asked, I asked Esty, would it be okay? Because Annie's never seen 34 Fairview. Can we swing by there so she could see it? So she could see how small the yard is. And so we went, and remember, court let out at 4:00, right? By the time we got there, it was between 4:30 and 5. We're talking, this is heavy traffic time everywhere, right? Dude, one car passed us. One car. We were stopped, and a car got behind us, and Esty was like, you know, you can go around. You can go around. I remember this distinctly because of that. There was no traffic. Nothing. And it was rush hour. So you're going to tell me at midnight on Fairview Road, there's a lot of traffic? No fucking way. What Mike Gradazza is saying is true. You would hear everything. And I still felt weird because we were just sitting in front of 34 Fairview. They got new owners. And I still felt weird sitting in front of it. You know what I mean? Like, because all somebody has to do is just look out the fucking window and be like, God damn, man, more of these fucking Karen Reed ghouls checking out this house like it's a fucking tourist spot. You know, like I felt weird about it. But it was important for Annie to see for herself the it was important for Annie to see for herself the yard. That was the entire purpose. And Esty almost gunned it in reverse. And I was like, don't do that. Don't do that. But yeah, she started to. And then, but you could tell like that was really, and it was very jarring when she just started to do it. She didn't try to make it up to 24 miles per hour. It is small as fuck. It's ridiculously small. Yeah, bro. Listen to that shit, dude. You're gonna hear that.
Welcher asserts that Karen pressed her foot down on the gas pedal, applying 75% of its full range, and accelerated toward John, reaching a speed of nearly 24 miles per hour, traveling a distance of well over 87 feet, turning the street into a slippery racing strip. Striking his bent arm.
Oh, look at that. Another aerial perspective of a graphic.
Causing the mismatched wounds and projecting his body through the air or in some other way to its ultimate resting place just below the flagpole. The Commonwealth mostly glazed over this aspect of the collision, likely because it's the most unbelievable part of their theory. They provided no scientific evidence explaining how a taillight could produce the specific pattern of abrasions on John's right arm, how he sustained no broken bones or significant bruising, or how he managed to lock his phone after being incapacitated under this scenario. Another problem is that Ryan Nagel drove by just moments before and didn't see John inside or outside the SUV,
I was making sure my sister got in the house okay.
specifically testifying that Karen was alone.
But you did look inside that SUV,
As I passed by, yes.
and you saw one person,
That's all I saw at the time, yes.
female with long hair. Is that right?
Correct.
After the SUV travels
Okay. So what's interesting here is Microdots doesn't even take into account Brian Higgins' Jeep with a plow in front of it that he testified was right here. During this time, he was the first to get there, and as I understand it, he didn't leave until after Karen left, right? So he's supposed to be parked right here in front of the mailbox. So you're going to tell me she gunned it in reverse from here, made it all the way up to 24 miles per hour in the snow and never hit Brian Higgins' Jeep? Never touched the plow in front of his Jeep? Gunned it in 24 miles per hour, but the brakes are so good that they stopped. Now I trust Microdots, and I'm sure there's a reason why he didn't account for Brian Higgins' Jeep here. Most likely, if I had to guess, because he just thinks fucking Brian Higgins is a goddamn liar. But if Brian Higgins' Jeep was right here, there's no fucking way she would have been able to brake. There's no fucking way she would have been able to brake and in the snow, and that car wouldn't have skidded, probably in a spin, maybe not a spin, but would have at least skidded to where it did not, it wouldn't have skid straight, is what I'm saying. Now, that leaves the possibility that she cleared the Jeep as she passed it on the other side of the road. But no, I just don't find that to be likely. He had a plow in front of his Jeep. The chances of that happening, clearing the Jeep completely, hitting John O'Keefe, clipping him, right? And where's John standing? John's standing right here by the mailbox. Or no, by the flagpole, excuse me. So John's right here by the flagpole. This is where he's found, right here. So we're expected to believe that she backed into him at 24 miles per hour, clipping him right here, and then braking in time to never touch Brian Higgins' Jeep that's right here. No fucking way. No fucking way. Take into account, Brian Higgins' Jeep is not going to be much bigger than Karen Reed's SUV. So if you have another vehicle, a rather large one, that's right here, that's going to take up about this much space, right?
travels 87
There's no way she would have braked in time and avoided that Jeep. She would have hit Brian Higgins' Jeep, and there would have been significantly more damage to the back of her SUV than a cracked fucking taillight, or as the Commonwealth wants to say, a broken taillight. No fucking way. Not a dent, nothing.
feet, the trigger event data ends, but the vehicle is still accelerating, with its last recorded speed being its highest.
It's still moving.
So right there, it's still accelerating. I'm giving it grace saying that she braked there. No fucking way if Brian Higgins' Jeep was parked there, she wouldn't have hit it. No fucking way.
It's still moving about 23 miles an hour, and you're still at 74% throttle and 3,300 revolutions per minute on the
74% throttle.
RPM gauge.
That means 3/4 of the way to the fucking floor the gas pedal's at. 3/4 of the way to the fucking floor. No way if Brian Higgins' Jeep was parked there.
It's not just still moving, it's still speeding up, and Karen is applying zero pressure to the brake, which is a major problem for one big reason.
Boom. Okay. See?
Exactly where was your Jeep?
That's why I like to do reaction videos. That's why I like to react. Because I underestimated Richie. Richie's like, hold on, Will, hold on. We're getting there. I apologize, Microdots, if and when you see this.
That house.
By the mailbox.
Okay. Can we have, with the court's permission, Exhibit 66?
Okay.
This is a graphic representation of 34 Fairview, not a photograph. Just to orient you, do you see what's depicted in Exhibit 66?
Yes,
Do you recognize it?
I do.
Do you see the mailbox, which is about right there?
Yes.
Okay. Where was your Jeep in relation to that mailbox?
Right in front of it.
So the back end of the Jeep, the rear, would have been about around equal with the mailbox, and I was not blocking the driveway.
Okay. So you would have been.
So the ass end of the Jeep would have been right here, which means it would have extended up to about here. I'd say, give or take, to about here with a plow.
Valves there, correct? If the right edge of that highlight is the mailbox being right there, it would have been about right there on the street, correct?
Well, that would have been the front of the Jeep. We a laser pointer is, it would be the front.
All right. Thank you, Scott.
So the front of the Jeep is facing the flagpole.
Towards Chapman Street, correct.
And the rear of the Jeep was basically even with the mailbox strut or stanchion.
It was definitely past the driveway, yes.
How could the Lexus have been accelerating in reverse at the speed of 23.9 miles per hour
And
when it would
not
have collided with the Jeep,
collided
causing
like
a
a
violent
motherfucker.
crash that would almost certainly have severely damaged both vehicles?
Or a violent
So when you
crash.
were talking about the vehicles that you saw in front in some painstaking detail, talking about the black SUV and
I'm gonna see if Microdots will fucking do a video where I narrate it instead of a violent crash. Fucking crash like a motherfucker. That'd have been a twisted heap of metal shit. The fuck are you talking about?
and Ryan Nagel's truck, you just left out the Jeep because nobody asked you about it.
This is what happens when you build a theory on bad data.
A theory on bad data. My narration. This is what happens when you build a theory based on a bunch of fucking liars. Hold on. Norman, thank you so much. I heard braking action would have triggered the computer for the third time in that key cycle. That didn't happen. Right. Good point.
And invented narratives. Lies stacked on lies eventually collapse under their own contradictions. It's the inevitable unraveling of a story stitched together with fiction and falsified evidence.
You had no reason to believe they weren't okay. A man was dead or dying on their lawn and your sister not answering the phone. You didn't think there was some reason to believe they could have been in peril? You knew better. You knew she wasn't in peril. You knew that Brian Albert wasn't in peril. you knew what really happened.
Damn fucking right. It's just that fucking simple, people. If Brian Higgins' Jeep was there, there's no fucking way. And I pointed this out last trial, by the way. Mark my words, go back and look.
All right, the FBI.
If you have the patience, go back and watch my coverage of the first trial. And I pointed this out. Not only did I point out the fucking shoe, but I also pointed out that if fucking Higgins' Jeep was parked there, there's no way she wouldn't have fucking hit it. Oh, look at Plevin. Plevin's got 1,000 people watching him right now, dude. Man, I should get chemo. That's wild. I didn't know it was help with views so much. Good for him. No, I know he does look real sick, and I do hope he gets better. Like, I don't wish death on people, bro. All right, we're back.
Give me a second.
He has no choice, Kelly R. But thank you, but he has no choice. That's
33.
The most
Zoom
infuriating.
that in, please.
Most infuriating thing about all this.
A little larger so we can see it.
I cannot do it with one monitor.
You can't do it any closer than that?
Not since I took down. Oh, hold on. Here we go. Which part do you want me to zoom in?
Miss Gilman can zoom in for you.
Sorry? Which part?
Miss Gilman's going to do it for you.
Oh, there you go. Perfect.
If you could zoom in, please. Okay. On shift position signal, going forward, then neutral and reverse. Does that data suffer from confirmation bias?
No, that's strictly electronic data.
When we look over at the vehicle's speed, can we go to the left a little bit?
So Brendan's playing defense because that's not suspicious.
Down. Vehicle speed
What's up,
ending at
Vivian?
2361 miles per hour. Does that suffer from confirmation bias?
No, again, these are direct readings from the vehicle. Again, that speed on this here, you have to correct for the slippage, which I do later on in the slide, but that is a direct reading from what the speedometer is seeing.
Acceleration at the end of that 10-second window, 74%. Does that suffer from confirmation bias?
No, that's a direct reading of a
Bro.
sensor. It's objective information.
So Alessi can't allude to confirmation bias.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Wow.
Somebody
Anything,
just
Mr.
went,
Alessi?
wow. Well, somebody in the defense team just went, wow.
Yeah, Your Honor.
Yes.
Thank you. Dr. Welchure, you were just asked questions about slide 33, which is the slide about text stream data. You acknowledge that text stream data, what you've called a trigger, like was on that slide, does not tell you if a collision even occurred, correct?
Correct.
With regard to the topic of confirmation bias that you were just asked about
That
in
was
slide
fucking open.
33.
He opened the door.
Am I correct that all of the questions that Attorney Brennan just asked you were about data on that slide, correct? All that's on that slide is data, correct?
Now, he asked me more questions than just this slide.
But were the questions just about data?
On this slide, it was just about data.
Correct. But confirmation bias
There it
is really aimed at opinions and conclusions and alternative hypotheses. Isn't that what confirmation bias gets at?
So generally, yes. Again, I started this case with
it was
the
just a question.
hypothesis.
We
Go
don't need
ahead,
all
sir.
that,
Go
bro.
ahead.
We don't need all
with
that.
the hypothesis that the Lexus didn't contact Mr. O'Keefe. And so I start what's called the null hypothesis, that this didn't happen. And then I look at evidence to either include or exclude the null hypothesis. So theoretically, my confirmational bias starts with a bias that it didn't happen.
Can you point to
What?
one document that
Oh my God.
shows that you analyzed whether there was no contact between the Lexus and Mr. O'Keefe? Can you point to one document? Was there one document on your slide presentation that analyzed the null hypothesis, as you call it?
You're
There being no contact at
bullshit.
all? Was there any slide in your direct testimony?
So remember what I said, we start with hypothesis, we get more data, we whittle down our hypothesis to the final answer. I mean, I had 130 slides. I suspect I bored some of these people to death already. So I didn't include everything. There's thousands of photographs in here. There was a bunch of testing I did with the Lexus about backing, pedestrian detection that, removed certain hypotheses. So if I was able to eliminate a hypothesis, I didn't present it here.
Sir, my question is not about.
All the slides show that, to answer your question.
Sir, my question is.
So why didn't you show your process of elimination?
It says.
That's part of your hypothesis.
Hypothesis 2, whatever the label is, whatever the term, it says no contact between the Lexus vehicle and Mr. O'Keefe. Is there any document that you presented to the jury that shows that?
Any document where those words are written on it?
Correct.
No.
And to work through hypotheses, different ones, and to see whether there's confirmation bias, have you heard of scientists refer that as showing your math, so to speak, in working through hypotheses, documenting each hypothesis and how and why you rejected them? Have you heard of that term in the scientific world, show your math with confirmation biases and alternative hypotheses? Just a question. Have you heard the idiom, the phrase, show your math?
Your question is, have I ever heard show your math, period?
Associated with the application of various hypotheses to avoid confirmation bias. Have you heard of that term used in that conjunction?
Not really in that context. It's probably, I understand where you're going with it.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
No further questions.
Dr. Welcher, you were also.
Right.
Oh my God, thank you.
Shut the fuck up.
Give me a minute to pack up and I will be out of here. Oh, I am plugged in, yes, thank you. Today, Junior?
Excuse me? Yes, you can put your.
Yeah, fuck that guy. Piece of shit.
Boo! You suck!
Turbulence in the chat. My man JFK's in the house. Make sure to sub the JFK show off. My boy.
I'll do the self-test. Yeah, step down.
Yes, you can. Thank you
Pleasure
very
to meet you.
much.
Oh, dude, shut the fuck up and go.
Mr. Brennan?
The defense.
Commonwealth moves to introduce and play clip 26.
And oh yeah, of course, the show, and then he's gonna fucking arrest. Hopefully, in other words, he'll shut the fuck up.
So I thought, could I have run him over? Did he try to get me as I was leaving and I didn't know it? I mean, I've always got the music blasting. It's snowing. I got the wipers going, the heater blasting. Did he come and hit the back of my car and I hit him in the knee and he's drunk and passed out and asphyxiated or something? And then when I hired David Yannetti, I asked him those questions the night of January 29th. Like, David, what if, I don't know, what if I ran his foot over? Or what if I clipped him in the knee and he passed out or went to care for himself and he threw up or passed out? And David said, yeah, then you have some element of culpability.
Dude, that's not incriminating. It's not even incriminating. She's saying, when I was desperate looking for him, I considered the possibility that I might have clipped him or something. There was loud music. It was snowing. I don't know.
Your Honor, the Commonwealth rests.
There it is.
Does counsel want to see me?
We do, Your Honor.
Okay, so should we send the jury out or should?
Well, yes.
So jurors, so everybody can sit. So jurors, the Commonwealth rests. That means that the Commonwealth's case has been presented to you for your consideration. So I need to meet with the lawyers for a few minutes, so we're going to send you back out. I can tell you that it now appears that we're at least on schedule, if not a little ahead of schedule. So we'll send you back out for.
So that means that after this short recess, she's going to call it a fucking day. Watch.
Right. Can counsel come to sidebar, please?
Even though there's supposed to be another 2 hours. But hopefully we get to the first witness. Your Honor, the defense would like to call Trooper Paul. That would be so good. That would be so good. Yeah, again, if you're subscribed to me, you're a new subscriber. If you have the patience, go back and watch my coverage of the first trial. You will see that I was adamant that if Brian Higgins' Jeep was there, that there's no way Karen Reed could have backed into John O'Keefe. And I was also adamant about the fact that it's not the same fucking shoe. Yeah, I don't see. Well, Sue O'Connell made it in. It's Christina Rex. Whatever that dude's name from Court TV is. Is Janet pulling out some Altoids? Bill and Janet are like Santa Claus with Altoids, bro. Watch, here comes Bill. Bill's got his Altoids. He's going to be like, yeah, let me get a mint. I'm going to need a mint for this. I fucking love Bill and Janet so much. Like, I adore those people. No, they didn't ban Turtle Boy from the courtroom. I just he gets on the list to be like, in case somebody doesn't show up, then he gets a spot. But dude, like the same fucking people, DePetro has been in the courtroom all this time. Like, the dude from Court TV is always in there. I mean, I don't have proof of it, but is Court TV fucking paying the Commonwealth to fucking make sure their people always have a spot in the press pen? Because I don't think that's a fucking coincidence. How's that a coincidence? You tell me that's just chance? It's a lottery, but the same fucking people always get picked for the lottery. No fucking way. Oh, it's got to be rigged. Like, John DePetro is a fucking clown. Okay? That is all there is to it. John DePetro is not a serious person. He's not to be taken seriously. He's a fucking idiot and a clown. The only purpose John DePetro serves, the only productive purpose that he serves is to give me content so I can call him a fucking idiot and a clown. That is it. He exists to be made fun of, not to be taken seriously, to have insight. And he gets in there like every day. Of course, I don't see him in there right now, but he's always in there. Hopefully Sue O'Connell took his spot. Yeah, I wonder what this is all about. Because right now, this has become the Alan Jackson show. It's officially the Alan Jackson show. He runs point on this entire defense. You know what would be awesome? If Alan Jackson like creates Gary Reed's defense team creates like a show with a bunch of clips in between all the testimonies. Like one of Hank Brennan talking about how you can't have cops going around and do whatever the fuck they want. When he's from the days when he was defending Whitey Bulger. I would love to see that shit. That would be so awesome. It'll come off as petty as fuck to the jury, so it'll never happen, but it would make me smile. Yeah, Microdot's clips. That would be awesome. Yeah, him playing the harmonica and shit. Oh my god. I can't fucking stand Hank Brennan, dude. I can't fucking stand that guy. Oh no, Nathan's not in there, Liz. today. I don't think. I don't see your cousin Kelly in there either. I mean, dude, Nathan's got a dealership to run, you know? Yeah, I got to talk to him for a while, man. Yeah, Nathan's just a good dude, man. That whole family, they're just awesome. Yeah, Nathan's a really good dude, man. He was raving about his sales team at the dealership, and like, this is a guy who really cares about everyone around him, you know? Just a good dude. Bro, I don't know if y'all can hear my stomach growling, dude. Oh, I'm sure he's paying attention. You know what I mean? I'm sure Nathan's on top of this. Like, even at work, I'm sure he's checking in to see like what's happening. You know, it's his sister. She's on trial for murder for a murder she didn't do. You know, like, I guarantee you he's checking in. Bro, I might just do that. I might just grab a yogurt with some chocolate. I don't want to get up. I don't want to stand up. Dude, that is a great question. I do enjoy the element of surprise. I do enjoy the element of surprise. Like, I like to see what they're doing. Yeah, there's nowhere to plug it in, man. I do have a mini fridge, like, about 10 feet away, but no. Yeah, I hope that dude's fucking whole career is fucked after that. I can't stand this Welcher guy. I think he sucks. He's just a shit person. Like, he willingly engaged in this. We know he knows better. That's not negligence, that's corruption. And during his cross-examination, he wanted to be known as the smartest dude in the room, smartest guy alive, and then when it was convenient, he played real stupid. That's a shitbag. That dude is an absolute shitbag. Fuck Judge Asswelcher. Kelly R. Normally, when they want to talk to the judge about something, if I had to guess, which obviously I no choice but to guess because we have no fucking idea, but my guess would be that maybe there's new evidence that they want to present, new evidence that they've come across that they want to present, or a scheduling thing. Scheduling is an even better guess. Oh, a new Rule 14. Yeah, I've been hearing the rumor of that, but I feel like he would have brought that up at the beginning, and it would have been him who brought it up, not the defense. It was Alan Jackson who was basically running point on this right here, where he says, yeah, the jury should probably leave the room for this. Yeah, it wouldn't be a sidebar. Like, the Rule 14 would just be like presented and argued. Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, Greenlee. Greenlee's always out getting coffee and bagels for everybody. The actor's name, actually, he was a comedian back then, and his name was Bob Marley. His name's Bob Marley. Like, that's literally his name, Bob Marley, the guy who played Detective Greenlee in Boondock Saints. Put a potato on a string and drag it down the street. Thanks for coming out. It's a huge freaking guy. That movie's funny, man. I'm telling you, like, maybe I'll do that. Like, I think that's what I might do. I'm gonna have to, like, I have a Patreon and I never do shit with it. So maybe I'll start doing watch parties on Patreon. Maybe I'll do that. And because I want to go over that. I want to go over that documentary about what's his face. What's his face? Troy Duffy, the guy who wrote and directed Boondock Saints. That documentary is crazy. Like, it's crazy. That guy is such a dick. He's such an asshole. Like, I thought I for a second I thought Dude, I can't find Rhinestone. I'm so mad. Like, I was all set to watch it last night. I was all set to watch it. And I was like, oh, yeah, Rhinestone. It's like not available anywhere. If I had to guess what happened, Sylvester Stallone took some of his Rocky money and bought all the rights to it and just fucking got rid of it. Just got rid of the distribution. Like, supposedly Rhinestone's like his biggest regret. I thought it was Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. Yes, it's called Overnight, right, Marcus? What? No, it's not. Rhinestone? Rhinestone's not on Prime. I looked on Prime. I looked for Rhinestone. I looked it on Prime. I looked it on Apple TV. Nowhere. You can't get The Adventures of Ford Fairlane anymore either. Like, that's one of my favorite movies of all time. Again, not a good movie, but hilarious. Yeah, this is going to be. Yeah, that's probably, you're probably right, KM. And thanks, big shout out to all you guys who are watching on Twitter right now or on X. I really appreciate you guys watching. It would really be nice though if you're not subscribed to me on YouTube to like just switch over to my YouTube and hit subscribe, and then go back to watching it on Twitter if you want. I don't give a shit. But it would really help me out. Yeah, I did that. I did that with Ford Fairlane, because like there was like, it was like a few months ago. I was like, I have to watch this movie again. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking Sly paid for that shit to die, Rhinestone to die.
Oh, gotcha. Thank you.
Let's see what this is all about. Your favorite Stallone movie is Oscar? Oh my God. Dude, if your favorite Stallone movie, I'm calling the cops. That's that's terrible, bro. Yeah, I did it. I put out a TikTok video yesterday. No, it's not. It's not hilarious, Claire S. That's a terrible movie. It's not funny. It's just stupid. It's a terrible movie. I remember when that shit came out. Like, you know, like I had to go to summer school, and there was a lot of days where like the teacher was just like, dude, we're gonna watch a movie. And then she brought in like Oscar. We had to watch it in school, and I was like, fuck, this movie sucks, dude. I was like 13. 13. I was like, this movie's fucking awful. Dude, I looked on Amazon, bro. I looked. I couldn't find it. I'll look again later on. No, Claire S, because if I watch it again and it sucks, if I watch Oscar again and it sucks, I'm going to hide you from this channel, and I don't want to do that. wet, hot American summer. Stabler goes, I'm gonna go hump the fridge. It's not available for streaming. Thank you. Thank you.
Court is in session. Please be seated.
All right, so jurors, we all, it happens several times a day, doesn't it?
A lot of fires in Canton or in Dedham. A lot of fires in Dedham.
So we don't want to waste anybody's time. I know we've spent a lot of time at sidebar and we've had times that we've kept you in the deliberation room because we've been trying to sort through everything, trying to make this trial as efficient as possible, but also honoring and respecting all the hard work of the lawyers that's gone into preparing this trial. So sometimes I do understand that it's frustrating for you. But today we were able to spend some time this morning. I know we kept you in there almost half an hour and we've just spent some time now. So I can tell you that we are ahead of schedule right now. I still need to talk to the lawyers about something tomorrow morning. So we're going to send you home now.
Knew it.
And
What'd I
have
tell
you
you?
come back tomorrow morning at 9:30 because today I know we kept you until 9:30 and it doesn't make any sense where I already know I need to talk to the lawyers tomorrow morning to have you here for a 9 o'clock start. So tomorrow will be a full day and we'll have you here ready to start at 9:30. Okay, so those same cautions. Please do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent research or investigation into the case. If you happen to see, hear, or read anything about the case, please disregard it and let us know. And also, please continue to be careful with your social media use. So we'll see you tomorrow morning.
Rise for the jury.
I mean, it was the same shit last year, dude.
All right, so Ms. Little, if you can get me whatever you're going to get me within the next hour, so that would be great. And I'll see everybody tomorrow morning at 9
Thank
o'clock.
you.
It's new evidence. Or they're filing a new motion. But yeah, again, I'd have to guess that it's new evidence. Miss Little's going to get it to her. Or she's going to file a motion. I don't know. But to present new evidence, they have to file a motion for it, right? I feel like they do. Yeah, that's crazy. This is just crazy, dude. Um, yeah, I'm debating. I'm debating. I think I'm probably just gonna start doing recaps. Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up because I got some stuff to do today, and I want to get it over with and get back here and rest as quick as possible. So I'm going to take advantage of this short day. But I mean, what is there to go over? You know, I know you guys are like, no. But you know, yeah, I've actually got to like go into town, and I'm not happy about it, but I have to do it. But I'm wondering, I'm wondering what's going on here. But anyways, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for subscribing if you're new subscribers, and make sure to hit the like, and appreciate all the support, guys. Thank you guys. And I don't know, maybe I'll go live 9:30 a.m. tomorrow. Maybe I'll go live 4 p.m. tomorrow. I don't know yet. I haven't decided. But anyways, I love you guys very much, and we will do this again very soon, my friends.